You know what I love? I love when a different person can read the same book, have success, but do it in a completely different way. Now, one of the books I talk about a lot is this one, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Now, this book I read when I was 20 some years old and had a huge influence on my life. When my buddy Travis read this book, he read it in a much different way. He really took to investing into real estate and needing real estate if you really wanted to build wealth. And that was something that he just had a lot of interest in. And he was determined after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad to figure out how to become a real estate investor. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't have any contacts, didn't have, any family members that were willing to like teach him or could teach him. He had to learn it and figure it out on his own. So what I thought would be fun today is Travis is telling about his rental properties, the real estate that he's invested into. He's in the midst of a rehab on a house that he bought that he thinks he's gonna net a couple $100,000 if he sells it, but he's probably not gonna sell it yet because it's can be a really good rental property. I thought it'd be a lot of fun if we could just go check out to see his properties, the one that he owns, the one that he bought, and really just kind of hear his story. I think you're gonna be really excited to hear like the very first rental property that he ever bought. This thing is, it's made him some money. You'll get a glimpse of it, how it looks, and the fact that it's actually still cash flow positive. But yeah, let's go check out what Travis is up to right now. All right, before we see the first property, I wanted Travis just to kind of give you an introduction, kind of just who he is, and tell us a bit more about where he was in his life when he read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and kind of behind the scenes of how he found his first property, how much he put into it, how he was able to get it. So here's a bit of an introduction from Travis, just him interested in real estate and determined to figure it out.
I'll be 36 in about a month, and my goal is by 40 to basically replace my income, more than replace my income, but at least replace my income through passive rental property. And that's kind of what we're more buy and hold long term is kind of the strategy. So hope for appreciation, but making sure we buy it right to cash flow a minimum of 500 a month, but shooting closer to 1,000 a month, which is a little harder to do in 2018 in a hot market like Nashville. But I actually bought 3 houses in the last year. 2 of those 3 were what I call layups. So within buying them, we had them turned around, rented, cash flowing within less than 30 days. And both of them are cash flowing over 500 a month. I know a lot of the prices I've shared with earlier houses are ridiculous, or somebody's like, there's no way you can get a house for that anymore. It's impossible, which is true. But even this house, which I would have a couple years ago told you I was crazy to buy for 220 to rip it apart, this will actually potentially cash flow more than even the properties I bought back in 2010 at a better deal. So it's all relative. There's deals whether the market's up or down. There's always deals.
Yeah.
As far as the appreciation play, sure, if you can clean house when markets are down, that's great, and ride it up. But the long-term cash flow is what we're going for. So this is the first house my wife and I bought together, and we lived in about a year and a half, 2 years, and then we moved to this one for a couple years. We sold that one, and then moved from this house to the house we're in now. This one rents for $2,000 a month. 3 bed, 2.5 bath.
So this one, and then that one you sold, right?
Yeah, I sold that one. Yeah.
I sold this one. Okay.
You can tell still haven't repainted that was the original color up there. This is the first house I bought with a partner. At some point, you start to run out of your own cash if you're doing real estate, and you have to start to partner and work with other people. And so Buddy and I bought this house. I call it a layup because a lot of what I've done is more value add, so houses that needed a lot more repairs to get them rentable. This house was already remodeled in a great up-and-coming area, so we still put about $7,000 into it. Redid the deck, added a dishwasher, back door. Bought it for $195. Could probably sell it today for $250-ish, up to 275. So already has some great built-in equity. Cash flow is about $600 a month. We rent it right now for 18. Note on it's about 1,200. So from closing on the house to getting it rented was less than a month, which is great. So a quick turnaround to cash flow. So yeah, we're happy with it.
How many of these have you wanted to make an offer on that you?
A lot. Pretty much everyone. So I own that one currently. I owned that one, Airbnb'd it, and then sold it. I could have bought that greenhouse for 15 grand. One house on these two lots for about 6 months, literally open and just vagrants going in and out because the owner had died and it was stuck in a trust, and the city couldn't kick them out. And then finally it got bought, and they built these two houses. These both sold for $340 in 2000, 4 years ago. It's about 2015, 14.
Yeah, they're nice.
These are the first new builds on the street.
They're like Twinkies.
Yeah, so our house, we were the first ones to remodel a house on this whole street back in 2010. We were the very first ones. And these were the first new builds on the street. And since then, there's been 5, 6 other ones. So houses on the street now are anything 3-bed, 1-bath, remodeled and above is $350. I used to buy stuff for 50, 80 grand. So the little gray house, 2-bed, 1-bath, there's a little center block office in the back. We bought in 2010 for $51,000. We sold it for $248 2 years ago. He could probably sell that today for close to $3. There's a 2-bed, 1-bath, fully remodeled, one street over that sold for $350. That's a little higher end. He could probably sell this for about $300. Yeah.
Which two do you still own two? You said?
Yeah. So then we bought the house next to it, the big pyramid roof, for $27,000.
27?
27.
What year?
2012.
Oh my gosh.
So the guy who bought it was out of state. He bought it for $38 and did work to it. Had a renter in there, a drug dealer. It was literally a drug dealer.
Okay.
I got to know him. He was nice. And he just got in over his head. He couldn't deal with it. And so a wholesaler came to our house trying to sell it to us for $35. And I was like, well, I know the owner. So I just called him up. I was like, hey, are you selling the house? He's like, yeah. I was like, what's she paying you? He's like, she's going to pay me $25. I was like, all right, I'll give you $27. So we bought it. Both those houses we probably put about $30,000 into fixing them up.
So all total invested, you had how much?
In that house, I probably had 50 in it,
Yeah.
but I bought it cash. I pulled cash out of this. So
Yeah.
here's how I did. I also never had a ton of money. I was running a nonprofit, so I was broke. This house, we had just enough for FHA, small down payment. Borrowed about $30,000 from my parents, fixed the house up, refied it, paid my parents back 4 months later. And then that house gained equity. I pulled the cash out of this house to buy that house cash.
Wow.
And then
And timing wise, I mean, it just worked out.
it just worked out,
Yeah.
fixed it up. And then I put a mortgage on a house for $150 when I was starting my business, and pulled over $150,000 check out of that house because I owned it outright to start my business. That I invested in my business that I eventually sold for a lot more than that. 6 months later.
This is beautiful.
So each house has kind of rolled and stepped up into the other houses. So I've at various points I've refied and pulled cash out and used it to buy others. And
I love it.
but all the houses I own now, except for this one, I owe either under 100 or just over 100. So that's the great thing about long-term investments that most people don't realize is every month, not only are you getting cash flow, but your principal and your payment, your renters are basically putting money in a savings account for you, paying your principal down.
Yeah.
So that house on the other side is 3 girls. It's a three bedroom, 3-bath. We rent it for $2,000 a month. I think our note's like 800.
Wow.
So I could sell that house today for probably $320 to $350. And I owe like $120 on it.
Wow.
This is the new baby right here. We just bought this one about a year ago. A much bigger project than originally planned. So this is my biggest personal prize, a full remodel. New electrical, completely new plumbing.
How much did you have to do?
I've done everything, all sweat equity.
Yeah.
But they were all small. Each house has kind of gotten a little bit bigger, which I want to get away from. And I'm handy, but that's kind of it can be a benefit, but it also can be a hindrance because you're able to do it, so it doesn't force you to hire other people to do it. I could send you some pictures if you want to throw them in what it looks like.
The before.
So we redid the whole exterior. Like we completely took all the siding, everything off, insulated from the outside, redecked it, sheathed it in plywood, hardy siding, put all new windows. It's the original, it's still older shingles. Reframed the whole porch, ripped out all the porch, reframed it all. All new electrical, all new plumbing. We bought this house for $220 to gut it. But we're literally 5 minutes from downtown Nashville, so it's a great location.
You're having some fun in here. Oh, dear Lord. I'm not going to fall through, right?
No, you won't fall through, but watch out for nails. So we took this wall out. So this was, they called it a 3-1, but it really was, you couldn't get anywhere without walking through another bedroom. So when you walked in, this was a little entryway. This was a wall. This was all closed in. This is a bedroom. This is a little door. That was a little door. That was the kitchen. You had to walk through these bedrooms, but you had to walk through, it was the weirdest layout.
Oh, wow, okay.
So this is a wall. We took this whole wall out and put in a beam, opened this up, exposed these beautiful brick fireplaces. So it'll be more aesthetics. We'll leave it open. So it'll be living, dining, but you can kind of walk through. That's the biggest thing we opened up. We didn't really change the layout too much. We added a bathroom here. So this, what's cool about this house, there's a whole basement. It's 3 bed, 3 bath, and every bedroom has an ensuite bathroom, which is a huge win.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this will be a really cool kitchen. Big like L counters all the way around. This is, I guess, the master. It's not the biggest bedroom. I think it's gonna be the coolest.
So you said 200 to gut it. How much you gonna have into it?
So 220. We bought it for 220.
220.
I think I overpaid a little. So I had been losing deal after deal, like not getting it. So when this one came on the market, I put an offer, full price offer in within minutes of it hitting the market, and I was the second or third person to put an offer on it. But I knew the owners because I'd lived on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So we got it. Knowing what I know today, I probably would have countered at like 205, and I think that would have been a little bit better. But we're still going to do really well. We're gonna put
the idea
in,
is to rent it though, right? I mean, that's.
I think so. Yeah. I want more longer term cash flow. So bought it for 220. We'll put in a little over 100. I'll refi it for 340. May even pull some money out. At 340, my note would be around 1,800 a month, and I should be able to rent this place on the low end 2,400 a month, but probably closer to 3,000 a month.
Okay.
So I should be able to like refi, get all of my cash out that I've put into it. Probably be able to get another 20 or 30 on top of that to roll into the next project, and cash flow 500 to 1,200 a month. And with this fairgrounds and everything coming in, I think I could sell this house today probably around 380 to 420 for a bigger range of 380 on the low end, 420 on the high end. But I think in 5 years this will be a 450 house easy.
So I think one of the biggest fears that many people have, like, oh, you said you're going to put 100 into it. 100. How much did you say approximately?
About 100,000.
100.
Yeah.
So how do you? Have you just been doing it long enough where you know it's 100, or is that fear of like, it's 100, but it ends up being 200?
Yeah. So it was not originally 100.
Okay.
And it may end up being like 115.
Yeah.
So the way I like to approach things is I never try to hit the bullseye. So I always know the market, and I try to know. I always say what's the worst and what's the best, and so I give myself margin and room. So I think we went into this house. We originally were planning to do a less of a remodel and just get it to be a rental quicker and charge less. And then we realized there's a lot of really bad electrical, like really bad, like scary bad. Like I'm surprised the house didn't burn down. And we didn't ethically feel good renting it in the current state that it was. So once you start pulling electrical out, before you know it, we're like, okay, we have to literally do all the electrical. So it's a snowball.
Yeah.
But we knew that there was room in the market to make it a higher end house, and we could get a lot more in rent, which would merit putting more into it. So, but I knew that going in. So even though my original plan was to put less, I knew if I ended up putting more, I'd be okay. Yeah. And so I think that's what's important, is to make sure you've got that margin to work within. Yeah. And that's what I've learned to get me to feel good about it. You could probably buy this house as a young couple and literally live for free Airbnb down here.
The next you.
Yeah. So it's shorter ceilings. Being a 6-footer, but even at 6'4", I can still stand. Yeah. But what we're going to do is we're recessing the ceilings. We're putting the drywall in up to give it some height. So we framed in a mini kitchen here. So there'll be a sink, have a little counter space, microwave. That's washer and dryer over there. Put in a full bath. Back there is like a living room or storage, but it's the shortest. It gets taller as you get towards the back. But I figure back here for a living room, if you're sitting on the couch, you're not standing up.
Yeah.
You don't really need, it's about 6 foot.
Oh, wow.
You don't need a ton of space. So you could have a couch. You could have, couch and stuff for people to sleep in. It's kind of dark. And then this is a bedroom, which is huge. So you're always trying to like take what are the negatives and add positive. So obviously the negative down here is the ceiling is low. The positive is you have tons of area. So whoever lives down here has a ton of space.
Yeah.
Average person is 5'7", so they're fine. So this is the bedroom. There'll be a walk-in closet. A lot of natural light, which makes it feel much better. And then we put in a full bath. So it'll be a stand-up shower, vanity toilet. Once again, you have ensuite, so you have access from the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But also if somebody's coming from out of the yard and they need to use the bathroom, they can get in the bathroom without coming in your bedroom. I think similar to so many real estate investors, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of the big aha moment. I read that book as a senior in college, and where he starts talking about cash flow and basically assets, or how you build wealth and owning assets. He talks about more than real estate, but real estate is what I really connected with. And I think being in college, I'd moved off campus in a house with 4 other guys. As I was thinking about going into a career, I was like, you know what, I could either rent or I can buy my own house and have my roommates pay for it. And so that's what I ended up doing. And so I bought that house on 2nd Avenue for $85,000. I was making $12 an hour doing a sales job for a pest control company. Had $5,000 in the bank account. I got an FHA loan, and I've never paid for that house since. Over the years, I've remodeled it eventually, put about $20,000 into it, but I'd already made more than that in cash flow by that point. And so that was kind of the big jumping off point, was just Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then jumping in and seeing it start to happen. Once you do that first house and you get over that hurdle and you start to see the cash flow, the excitement builds, and you start to get a vision for, hey, I can actually do this, and it is possible, and I don't have to be crazy rich to get started, which I think is the key thing. You can start with where you're at. I think the biggest limiting belief or obstacle that I experienced when I first was getting started, still do sometimes, I think most people do, it's the financial piece. So I think everybody thinks I don't have enough money to get into real estate. It's just not true. I think one of the reasons real estate has made so many people wealthy is because there's just so many ways to get creative. There's so many financing options out there, and obviously they change over time based on the markets and things that have happened, but there's just so many ways to finance real estate, whether it's your money, other people's money. I think the second biggest hurdle is actually finding the real estate. I'm sure people have heard, you make your money when you buy it, which is true. And so you need to buy real estate the right way. Otherwise, if you buy it wrong and spend too much when you buy it, it definitely isn't going to work out well. So when I was first trying to buy my first house, it was 7 months of searching before I bought it, and I was about ready to give up. Of just like, I was only approved for $85,000, which was not much. Looking back, I didn't realize this at the height of the market, or getting close to it. It was into 2006, going into 2007, right before everything was about to collapse. And I had an FHA loan, first time home buyer loan, which meant the house had to be in pretty good shape because inspections are challenging. So everything, if you can imagine, for $85,000 or less was really rough. And so trying to find a house that was good enough but would qualify was really challenging. But I stuck with it, and eventually I found one of the best houses I have today. And it's really close to downtown and is appreciated tremendously. And so I think you just got to stick with it. So the cash piece, and even now that I've been more experienced in 2018, markets are up. At times it's been really challenging to find deals. So you got to get creative and just keep looking. What I love about real estate is there's a way, if you are willing to problem solve, there's a way to solve every problem that's out there. It's just, in my opinion, it's the most accessible way to build wealth that's out there.
That was a lot of fun. Just seeing a guy who is an entrepreneur, is inspired, but also just willing to get after it. He took some risk, and he shared a lot of things that we didn't get on video, but just just, I mean, how many different properties he made offers on, just some of the things that he's learned the hard way, through buying properties or rehabbing properties. But he wasn't scared to try. I think the other thing too, though, he also, I don't think this was mentioned in the video, but he definitely didn't get too far out of his comfort zone, and also wanted to make sure that his spouse was in her comfort zone. So he never got himself in a position where he was overextended and borrowed way too much that he should have. He was always very smart and meticulous with the properties that he bought. I think that's something that's so important, because a lot of times, you get excited, you get a single, a double here, and also now you want to go for the home run and keep going for the home run and keep going for the home run, and all of a sudden something happens, you've got a housing crisis, and I don't know if you've heard the stories, I know I have, of people that just become bankrupt because they just got overextended on all like their different investment properties. It is a reality that can happen, but Travis has done a very good job of netting a profit and just building up this passive income stream on the side. And it's just, it was just fun to kind of learn all about that. I ain't gonna lie, just hearing more of his story and the success that he's had, it definitely gives me the real estate itch. And if you have not checked out some other videos, I talk about how I did try my take in real estate with a rental property, and it just didn't quite work out. I got in way too soon, didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Luckily I didn't lose my butt, but anyway, that's a whole other story. You can check out that video if you want, if you have interest. But I just think, man, just the big takeaway though is that it's just being meticulous. It's willing to put yourself out there, willing to try something new, and be willing to learn and potentially just fail in the process. But failing, as long as you don't lose your butt, you don't lose your spouse because you got into a financial deal you shouldn't have, then that truly, that really isn't failing. And Travis didn't do that. He put himself out there, and now has built a very nice business on the side. We didn't even talk about his other entrepreneurial endeavors, but he's got more going on. The real estate thing is just kind of like a passion / hobby / side hustle that's going to be, it already is a nice income stream, but it's going to be an even bigger income stream as it grows and as his real estate business grows. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed a little behind the scenes. I just really I ain't gonna lie, this video was more for me than you, because I just want to learn more about Travis and what he's got going on with his real estate. But I also feel that there is some value that you can get out of this too. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more of these videos, let me know. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. This is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until next time, peace.